Hi, my Transylvanians. As you can see, I'm down to just the lips. All the pictures and things of Frankenfurter and Magenta, they're all in storage right now while we are trying to sell our house. But I still have my lips. And I wanted to talk about the next scene. We got past the laboratory. Brad and Janet have been shown to their private rooms. Now, let's talk about a little continuity problem here, some funny lines and actions that take place, and what it all means. Okay? So, Frankenfurter and Rocky retreat to the bridal suite, right? And if you notice in the bridal suite, up on the wall behind the bed is a huge stained glass Charles Atlas. It appears to be stained glass. I'm sure it wasn't because they were on a very tight budget. But that was created especially for this movie. And then we see Frank sort of jump into Rocky's arms, and then the curtain closes. Brad and Janet are shown to their separate rooms. Now remember, when they were in the lab, they had robes on, right? When they're shown to their rooms, they don't have any robes on. The robes are thrown at them. They just have to kind of catch it. So have you ever noticed that before? Why'd they take the robe off only to get it thrown back at them? The robe is going to come up in a minute, again in a minute. They cast Janet's room in a pink light. Brad's is cast in a blue light. As you know, Frankenfurter shows up in both rooms to seduce Brad and Janet separately. Now, how long were they in their room before he showed up? Because wasn't he just in the room with Rocky? So, time. What's the time frame here? And it doesn't matter. Remember, Columbia said it at the beginning. Time meant nothing, never would again. So time means nothing in this place. So even though we just saw him with Rocky, all of a sudden he's here and then he's there. He's an alien, remember? All right, let's talk about these bedroom scenes. I have to admit, of all of the whole movie, these two bedroom scenes have always been a little uncomfortable for me. Maybe I'm a closet prude. It was a little over the top, but it's also kind of funny. So let's take a look at it. Let's see. He manages to seduce Brad and Janet as long as he promises not to tell the other. So when he's with Janet, she says, promise you won't tell Brad. And then when he's with Brad, promise you won't tell Janet. So let's look at the bigger theme here. They have already been stripped of their clothing, the outer world, how the outer world views them and how they present themselves to the world. They've been stripped of that. And now Frank is stripping them of what they had in their mind about what the proper behavior is. Remember when they first got there, Janet's like, we need to get out of here. This is not, this is not good. And of course, Brad was a little more naive, you know, maybe they're just having a party, that kind of thing. But now they're both like, okay, forbidden fruit, I'll take it as long as you don't tell on me. So we're kind of seeing their inclination to give themselves over to absolute pleasure, which is the theme of the movie. The conversations that Frank has with each one, Brad and then over with Janet, is quite comical actually. So, you know, he comes in and crawls into bed and they think it's their partner, and then the wig comes off with Janet, with Brad, you know, he brushes the hair and the wig comes off. He says, you! And, you know, I'm afraid so, Brad, but isn't it quite nice? And then he goes, what have you done with Janet? Nothing. Why? Do you think I should? So he's very wily here with his answers to Brad. And then Janet says the same conversation. And then Janet goes, I was saving myself. He hadn't even done anything yet. And he goes, I'm sure you're not spent yet. Now, when he has Janet, it's going to come up later in the song Janet, Planet, Schmanet, all that stuff. I'll say, Planet, Schmanet, Janet. When he says, your apple pie don't taste too nice. And she goes, oh, she's insulted. It's got to refer back to this intimate scene. One funny little detail in this, besides the conversation, is when Brad, let's see, let me make sure I get it exactly right. Oh yeah, he resists Frank's advances, and he says, you know, never, 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 and he points his finger at him, and when the finger comes out, Frank goes, chomp. And I wonder if that was part of the original script, like you were supposed to do that, or did Tim Curry just ad-lib that part? It's priceless. Meanwhile, Riff Raff is going to have a little fun with Rocky, and he threatens him with a candelabra full of lit candles. And if you've ever noticed, the two candelabras in the bridal suite are not the same. They have different number of candles on each one. Just a little detail. Notice that Rocky is still dressed in his gold shorts and his tennis shoes. So if he had been intimate with Frank, if Frank had his way with Rocky, did he put everything back on? just inquiring minds want to know. And let's see here. Foreshadowing. When Rocky breaks free from his chains, the whole canopy on the bed collapses. Foreshadowing. That's much like Frank's world will collapse by the end of this movie. So this is the bridal suite, the love nest that Frank created. It collapses, as will his whole world here that he's created. Riff Raff and Magenta, who are siblings, they do this elbow handshake where they, and people who have seen the movie, you know, they start with their hands and they go up while their elbows touch and come back. Everybody in the audiences for years has called that elbow sex or incest and all that. And Magenta, played by Patricia Quinn, she says, no, that was not ever meant to be any kind of sexual move. We never had incest on our minds. And I have to tell you, some of these audiences, they've taken this movie to such vulgar levels that it's almost not, I wouldn't enjoy it now. In fact, I know, because we went recently within the last year, and that's past my level of vulgarity, I guess. But she backs me up on that. That was never supposed to be an incest. It was some kind of a handshake, you know, sign from their planet. All right. But on the fan side, thinking it's some kind of a sexual move, Riff Raff does kiss her on the neck. And it's a loud, squeaky kiss. Like, like that. And she's, you know, like kind of enjoying it maybe. So, which is it, Magenta? Let's see here. Riff Raff goes to the transducer, zooms in, and Frank is in the middle of being with Brad, and he goes, Rocky is loose. We have released the dogs. And Frank comes up from down below. Coming. And then, of course, the audience yells, so is Brad. I never yelled that. Let's see. Notice that when he says, when the transducer comes on to speak to Frank, in Brad's bedroom, there's this pulsing light shining on the bed, but there's nothing like that on the screen. And so, is that a slip up? Is that a mistake? Where's that pulsing light coming from? Okay. Janet decides to go roam around the castle, which is huge, and she's been so scared and fainting at everything up until now, but all of a sudden she's got guts, and she's going to roam around the castle. Now, she was given a robe. Do you think she put that robe on? No. She's in her bra, panties, slip. Oh, and by the way, pantyhose. Those pantyhose have seen a lot of action. She walked from the car to the castle, remember, a few miles back in the rain. She's been all over the castle. She apparently wore them to bed. Frank has been in there. Well, how did that go down? Trying to visualize. Tear a hole there, pull them down, pull them back up. Anyway, she's still in her pantyhose, no shoes, and she did not grab her robe. So she is getting more comfortable with this freedom all the time. Let's see, there's a glaringly fake tear on her cheek. I'll try to put some pictures along here as I show this. There's a fake tear on her cheek as she talks out loud about her dilemma. It looks like a little, it's not even runny. It's something that is definitely plastered to her face, you know, just a tear with a little drop there. Timing. Now, this is something I never picked up on until now that I'm watching it and listening to the Rocky Horror Minute. Rocky is outside being chased by the dogs, and she gets in the elevator and goes up to the lab. While she's in there saying all of the chant, you know, if only we hadn't made this journey, and the audience says, but you did. If only the car hadn't broken down. But it did. If only we were among friends or sane persons. But you're not. And by the way, the car didn't break down. You had a flat tire. So she's in the lab saying all this, and all of a sudden she hears crying. And it's Rocky. Wait a minute. Wasn't he just outside with the dogs? How did he use the elevator at the same time she did? Time meant nothing, never would again. Time doesn't mean a thing. I think that is the end of this. Now, we're going to talk about the second tank scene with Rocky and Janet the next time I come to you. And a whole lot of shaking going on. I'll see you on the next video.